I was 10 years old the night my dad disappeared. He didn't say goodbye. He didn't even hug me. He just told my mom he was heading out to grab something from the hardware store. It was a Tuesday. I remember that because we always had meatloaf on Tuesdays, and it was his favorite. He even joked about it when he got up from the table, said, "Don't eat my slice while I'm gone," and winked at me. That was the last thing he ever said to me. At least, for a long, long time. We waited all night. I sat by the window, watching the driveway like it was a movie screen. I fell asleep on the couch with my shoes still on. When I woke up the next morning, he still wasn't home. My mom tried calling his cell, but it went straight to voicemail. She called the police after 2 days. They took a report, asked if he had any enemies, any reason to run. My mom said no. Said he was a good man, a family man. But they didn't find anything. Not his truck. Not his wallet. Not even a witness who'd seen him leave the store. It was like he'd stepped into a shadow and vanished. My mom didn't handle it well. For a while, she held on to hope. Every time the phone rang, she jumped. Every knock at the door made her flinch. But after a year, she started removing his pictures from the walls. After 2, she donated his clothes. By the time I turned 13, we didn't even talk about him. She started telling people he had left us, that he couldn't handle the pressure of family life, and walked out. I didn't argue with her. I couldn't. I had no answers either. But it never sat right with me. The dad I remembered wasn't a coward. He wasn't the kind of man to run away from responsibility. He was patient. He taught me how to ride a bike and how to throw a football. He never yelled. He kissed my forehead every night. And he never once gave me the eye. But it? I didn't it. I didn't know what to say. I just stood there, mouth open, heart racing. He stepped aside and said, "Come in." It's been a long time. The trailer smelled like coffee and old paper. A small table sat by the window, covered in newspaper clippings and photos. I sat down across from him, still stunned. "Why?" I finally asked. "Why did you leave?" He sighed. Pulled out 2 mugs. Poured coffee. Sat down. And then he told me. BAC. The company was involved in something bigger, laundering money through fake projects, hiding stolen goods on employee properties so nothing could be traced back. My dad confronted his boss, and a week later, our tires were slashed. The mailbox was smashed in. Then came the phone calls, no voice, just breathing. My dad went to the police, but they didn't believe him. No evidence. No arrest. Just vague threats, and one night, someone followed him home. Parked outside our house for hours. He knew we weren't safe. And so, he made a decision. The hardest one of his life, he said. He left. Not because he didn't love us, but because he did. "Better you grow up thinking I'm a deadbeat," he said, "than growing up without a mother." He moved across the country, changed his name, lived off the grid. No phone. No paper trail. For 20 years, he stayed hidden. But he never stopped watching me. He pulled out a box from under the table. Inside were photos. My school pictures. Graduation. A newspaper clipping about my job promotion. He had followed everything from a distance, through relatives, old friends, online. He never stopped being my father, just from the shadows. I didn't know how to feel. I was angry, yes. But also, relieved. Because the man I remembered had never truly left. He had just done what he thought was the only way to protect us. I spent 3 days with him. We talked for hours. About Mom. About me. About his regrets. He cried when I told him I still remembered his laugh. He laughed when I told him I was about to propose. On the 3rd day, he walked me to my car and hugged me like he never got to all those years ago. I never stopped loving you, he whispered. I believed him. When I got back home, I told my mom. She went pale. Sat down. And listened. When I finished, she didn't speak for a long time. Then she said, he should ve trusted me. We could ve faced it together. But I could see the tears in her eyes. Deep down, she had missed him too. She just didn't know how to say it. A few months later, my dad came back. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just, slowly. I helped him get a small place nearby. He came to my wedding. He walked me down the aisle as my best man. And when my first child was born 2 years later, he was there in the hospital, holding her like she was a miracle. We never got back the years we lost. But we found something else: understanding, forgiveness, and a second chance. And sometimes, that's more than enough. For a while, it felt like everything was finally whole. My dad was back. He had this quiet way of being present, not forcing himself into our lives, but always showing up when it mattered. He didn't try to be a hero. Didn't act like he deserved a second chance. He just took every day like a gift. He helped me fix up our porch. He read to my daughter at night. And every once in a while, I'd catch him staring out the window, like he was still watching for something in the dark. At first, I thought it was just old habits. Paranoia. After all, the man had lived off the grid for 20 years. But then strange things started happening. My mailbox was smashed just like when I was a kid. I thought it was a coincidence. Then my wife found our back gate open one morning. We have a latch that sticks, it doesn't open on its own. Still, I brushed it off. Probably the wind. But my dad didn't. One night, I came home late from work, and he was sitting outside on the steps with a flashlight and a baseball bat. I laughed. Asked him if he was waiting for raccoons. But he didn't laugh back. It's starting again, he said. I thought I buried it, but something's moving. He wouldn't tell me more at first. Said he didn't want to drag me into it. But I pushed. I had a family now, I needed to know what was circling us. So he finally sat me down and told me something he hadn't shared before. Back when he disappeared, after he confronted his boss and left town, he didn't go straight into hiding. He tried to fight. He gathered documents, photos, notes, everything he could dig up. His plan was to go to the FBI. But before he could, someone broke into his motel room. Took everything. His backup drive, his notebooks, even an envelope he had hidden inside a wall vent. That's when he realized it wasn't just his boss. There was a network: dirty cops, construction magnates, maybe even politicians. People who had buried their secrets in concrete and blood. People who had eyes everywhere. That's when he ran. Full ghost. No paper, no internet, no phone. For 2 decades, he believed they had forgotten him. But now, With him back with me digging around in the past, he was sure something had triggered their attention again. I wanted to dismiss it. Say it was paranoia. But then my car's brakes failed on the freeway. The mechanics said it was a leak in the fluid line. Could be been corrosion. Could be been sabotage. That night, I sat in my daughter's room while she slept and realized just how fragile our peace had been. We had to decide, run, or fight. My dad wanted to run. He said he wouldn't survive prison, and we couldn't trust the system. But I wasn't 10 anymore. I had tools he didn't have back then: the internet, connections, access to records. So I made him a promise. We'd do it my way. Carefully. Quietly. I started by digging through his old photos. He had a picture of a man balding, thick glasses, suit too expensive for a construction site. That's him, Dad said. The real boss. The one who never got his hands dirty. His name was Thomas Marrow. A developer with projects all across the Southwest. I searched public records, LLC filings, anything tied to his name. Turns out, Marrow had vanished from the business world 5 years ago. No obituary. No lawsuits. Just gone. But his company's still active. Run by a consulting group in Phoenix. I drove there. Sat in my car outside their headquarters for 2 hours. Watched. Waited. Took photos. And I saw something I didn't expect: the man from the photo. Older. Thinner. But definitely him. So he wasn't gone. He was just hiding in plain sight. I brought the photos to my dad. He froze. That bastard's still pulling strings, he whispered. Then this NT over. We came up with a plan. My dad would write a sworn affidavit, every detail of what he remembered. I'd combine it with the documents I could gather: tax evasion, environmental violations, even labor fraud. We'd package it anonymously and send it to a journalist I knew from college who worked on investigative reports. My friend was skeptical at first, said stories like this came in all the time. But once he saw the evidence and the photo, he changed his tone. 2 weeks later, the article went live. It blew up. Developer tied to organized construction fraud resurfaces under new identity. The story made the rounds. My dad's name wasn't in it, but it rattled cages. Enough that we started receiving emails, not threats, but tips. Former employees. Whistleblowers. People who had been silenced years ago. One man, a former security guard, sent us a thumb drive full of internal memos. It was more than we hoped for. We handed it off to the journalist, who handed it to the feds. This time, they listened. A grand jury was convened. Subpoenas issued. And slowly, the walls started closing in. But it came at a cost. Late one night, my dad went out to get milk. He didn't come back. My heart sank. I called every hospital. Every police station. Drove every route. Then I got a call from a blocked number. The voice was cold. Measured. He's not dead. Yet. Drop the case, and you get him back. I sat in my kitchen, holding the phone like it weighed 100 pounds. I had a choice: cave in and bury the truth, or push forward and risk losing my father again. But this time, I wasn't that scared 10-year-old. I had a daughter of my own now. And I wasn't going to let the same darkness win. So I made another call to the journalist. I told him everything. The threats. The kidnapping. He connected me with federal agents, not local people he trusted. Within days, they tracked the signal from the call. An abandoned warehouse in Arizona. My dad was there tied up, bruised, dehydrated, but alive. The man guarding him caught on federal surveillance. It was enough to issue multiple arrests. Mero tried to run. Got picked up at a private airstrip. It was over. Months later, when the dust settled, my dad sat on my porch again, this time in peace. No bat. No flashlight. Just a mug of coffee and the sun rising over the horizon. "You saved me," he said. "You saved us both." I shook my head. "You saved me first. 20 years ago." He smiled, and for the first time, it reached his eyes. "We lost time. But we found truth. And in the end, that was the real inheritance he gave me, not fear, not silence, but the courage to face the shadows and walk through them." We thought it was over. The arrests were made, the articles published, and for once, no shadows moved behind us. My dad moved into a small house just 3 blocks away from mine. He planted tomatoes. Started coming to Sunday dinners. My daughter called him Grandpa like she'd known him her whole life. For the first time in decades, we breathed easy. But peace, as I learned, is a fragile thing, especially when the past isn't done with you. It started small. A letter in the mail. No return address. Inside was an old photograph, grainy, black and white, clearly taken decades ago. It was of a group of men standing in front of a concrete foundation, shovels in hand. My dad was one of them. Young, maybe 20. But it wasn't him that made my blood run cold. It was the man standing 2 spots to his right, my grandfather. He had died before I was born. A stroke, I was told. My dad never talked much about him. Just said he was complicated. But here he was, smiling in a group photo with the same men tied to the corruption we had just exposed. I took the photo to my dad. Watched the color drain from his face. "Where did you get this?" he asked. "It came in the mail." He sat down, hard, like his legs gave out. "I was hoping this would never surface," he muttered. "What is it?" I asked. "What does Grandpa have to do with any of this?" He didn't answer for a long time. Just stared at the photo like it was a ghost. Finally, he said, "He built the original foundation." "For what?" "For the network. The safe houses. The tunnels. All of it. Before it became a cover for laundering and fraud, it was just concrete." But he knew. He knew what it was going to be used for. He helped anyway. I couldn't breathe. "He told me once," my dad continued, "that some men build roads, others build power. I didn't understand back then. But after he died, I found his journals. His ledgers. He had taken money from them. A lot of money. Why didn't you ever tell me this?" "Because I was trying to forget. And because I didn't want you to carry his sins. But the past doesn't disappear. It just waits. Sometimes in old photos. Sometimes in dusty boxes in the attic." That night, I went up to the crawl space in our garage and pulled out the chest I hadn't opened in years, the one with family heirlooms, photo albums, and a stack of letters my dad had written to me but never sent. Tucked at the bottom was a small, leather-bound book. My grandfather's initials were embossed in gold. Inside were pages and pages of tight, slanted handwriting. Mostly numbers. Coordinates. Names. Construction sites. One entry caught my eye, July 14, 1976. Poured over the chamber. Told them it would hold for 100 years. God forgive me. Beneath it was a map. And a red X near our old town. I showed it to my dad the next day. He went pale. That's the site of the old Mason plant. They buried something there. Something they didn't want anyone to find. Should we go? He hesitated. Then nodded. 2 days later, we drove out to the ruins. The plant had been shut down for years. Overgrown, rusted. The gate creaked when we pushed it open. We followed the map until we reached the clearing marked with the red X. The ground was cracked, dry. My dad knelt and brushed away the dirt with his hands like he knew exactly what he was looking for. After an hour of digging, we found a steel hatch. And beneath it a room. It smelled like mildew and secrets. Inside were rusted filing cabinets, sealed crates, and one desk with a rotary phone and a reel-to-reel tape recorder. My dad hit play. Static. Then a voice low, graveled, unmistakably my grandfather's. If you're listening to this, it means the lies have caught up to you. I built something I can't unbuild. I let men do things I should be stopped. And I raised a son who saw through me long before I saw through myself. David, if you're here, I'm sorry. But I'm also asking you to finish what I couldn't burn it all. We stood in silence, both of us trembling. There was no anger in my dad's face, just a deep, infinite sadness. He struck a match. The flame lit slowly. First the ledger. Then the crates. We didn't leave until everything had turned to ash. Back home, we didn't talk for a few days. Just sat on the porch in the evenings, listening to the wind. On the 5th night, he spoke. You know what scares me the most, he asked. That even after all this, I still loved him. I still wanted his approval. Even knowing what he did. I nodded. I think that's what being a son is. We inherit more than blood. He smiled. Then I'm glad you broke the cycle. And I think I did. My daughter turns 10 next week, the same age I was when my dad left. She doesn't know the whole story yet. One day, maybe I'll tell her. Or maybe I won't have to. Maybe the way I love her, the way I never leave, will be enough to say what words can't. The past is heavy. But it doesn't have to be permanent. Sometimes, we get to choose what we pass down. And I choose light.